Hello, friends. Christopher here, Analog Brain. This is my response to Jessie's 20 questions about the Beatles. My favorite Beatle, John Lennon. Uh, Favorite era of the Beatles would have to be from 68 on. How I got into the Beatles was when I was very young. We had a housekeeper used to come to the house. She used to stay with us Monday through Friday. She would have to take care of the housework, and I had other siblings that went to school, and she would have to be there for when they came home because both my parents had worked. And while my other siblings were in school, she would have to do the housework and keep an eye on me. So she showed me how to use the family record player, and she used to bring a box of 45s. And I remember pulling out the Beatle 45s and putting them on the spindle and watching them turn. I thought that swirl with the orange and the yellow was the coolest thing. Uh, my favorite song by the Beatles would have to be "Dear Prudence," and of course that's from my favorite album. Uh, Favorite bands, other artists other than the Beatles. I mean, it really ranges from Gene Vincent to Led Zeppelin to Leonard Skinner to Mountain, um, Blue Colt, Thin Lizzy, Iron Maiden, Accept. Um, I like Ella Fitzgerald. Uh, Starting to really get into Frank Sinatra. Recently, I've been getting into Americana artists and the modern day psychedelia that's going out with Black Angels. Um, let's see, Earthless, um, Expo 70. I mean, there's a lot of great bands out there making a lot of great music. Um, Least favorite Beatle album would have to be Help. And I think Help, with the George Morton compositions, I just don't think they fit on that album. Um, I would say Yellow Submarine, but they redid Yellow Submarine in 1990 and put more songs on it from the movie. So I think, that's a stronger album because of that. Um, Least favorite Beatles song would have to be Mr. Moonlight. Least favorite, least favorite Beatle wife would have to be Heather Mills. Favorite Beatle wife would have to be Yoko. She was out there. I mean, she wasn't, she really wasn't understood till years later. Um, Favorite look of the Beatles would have to be the Cavern days, the Hamburg days. Now, my favorite movie is Help. Um, I just don't like the soundtrack. How's the Beatles inspired me? I guess just, you know, go out there and be more creative, think outside the box, Uh, you don't have to conform to what came before you, if that makes any sense. Favorite Beatle instrument would have to be the sitar. I think they took it another level when they inserted the sitar into pop music. Um, Favorite career would have to be John Lennon. He did more than just make pop songs. He made a conscious decision to make a stand to protest the war in Vietnam and try to get the world thinking about peace. Taxman or Eggman? I do like I Am the Walrus, but I do like the fact that George was kind of protesting the unfair high taxes he had to pay in England. Um, Least favorite Beatle thing? Probably the decision not to reform. Why do I like the Beatles? I guess they're the only band that really bridged that gap from the 50s to the 60s in their music. They were able to continue to perform classic vintage rock and roll from the very beginning of rock and roll, yet give it an update kind of feel to it, and yet incorporate their sound into it. Um, Do I own any Beatle memorabilia? Yeah, I have one of those lunch boxes that came out in the '90s. It was the blue one. It had the picture of the cover of "Please Please Me," them looking down from the balcony. Favorite Beatle uh, offspring would probably be Zach Starkey. I think he did a great job filling in for Keith Moon and becoming a member of the Who. Um, if I had to say anything to the Beatles, I guess I would thank Ringo for not quitting during the 1968 White Album. Uh, George for probably um, letting everybody know that there's someone up above. There's a higher power. For Paul, um, I would just thank him for sharing his talent with the world. For a man to have a melody or a guitar riff or a phrase or something and just turn it into a pop song that seems to capture the imagination of everybody. It's quite a you know great feat in itself. And for him to share that with the rest of the world, I think that's awesome. For John, just for the song Imagine, I would thank him. um, it's a sentiment, I think, regardless of who you are, where you come from, that I think everybody's looking for that world where we can all just live in peace.